At 2:40 in the morning, I found a 7-year-old girl asleep against my bakery's heat vent, wrapped in her mother's coat. The mother didn't cry. She didn't beg. She just gripped my sleeve with shaking hands and whispered, "Please don't call anyone." I thought I was saving them that night. I wasn't. I was walking straight into a war made of paperwork, and I had already lost the first round. Rats don't cough. That's the thing about working 11 at night to 7 in the morning. You learn a building's noises the way you learn your own heartbeat, and when one of them comes out wrong, you feel it in your ribs before your ears catch up. I set the peel down, wiped my hands on my apron, and went out the back door into the alley. "Hey, whoever's out here, I'm not calling anybody yet, so don't make me start." The heat vent for my main oven runs out the rear wall about knee-high, and on a January night in Parma, it throws a column of warm air you can see from the street. 12 below with the wind, and curled up against that vent, wrapped in a woman's wool coat, was a little girl. Her mother came off the concrete so fast she nearly went down again. "Please." Both hands out in front of her, shaking so hard I could see it from 10 feet away. "Please don't call anyone." "Lady, it's 12 below." "I know what it is." "Then you know I can't leave you out here." "You can." Her voice cracked straight down the middle. "People do it all the time. It's the easiest thing in the world. I've been told I have a face like a closed garage door. It has served me well for 41 years. But something in the way she said that put a fist right through my chest. "What's her name?" The woman's chin started going. She pressed her lips together hard to stop it. "June." "How old? 7. "Okay." I pushed the door open wider with my hip. "It's 90 degrees inside because I've got 400 pounds of rye going. You can stand in the doorway and hate me from there if you want, but she's coming in." June sat up then, and I'll tell you what got me. She didn't cry. She didn't ask her mother anything. She just reached down into the coat, pulled out a green spiral notebook, and hugged it to her chest like it was a stuffed animal. The mother took her daughter's hand. Then she grabbed my sleeve with her other one, and her fingers were so cold through the flannel that I flinched. "Nobody knows we're here," she said. "Do you understand me, nobody?" "Ma'am, I don't know your name. I'm not real positioned to tell anybody anything." "Nora." "Ray." Inside, the heat hit them like a wall, and June started shivering harder. Which is what happens when a body finally believes it's allowed to. Nora dropped to her knees on my flour-dusted floor and rubbed her daughter's hands between hers fast over and over. "Baby, look at me. Wiggle your toes. Are you wiggling? I'm wiggling. Good girl, good girl." I had 2 loaves of pane di casa that came out at 2:15, still too hot to bag. I cut them, put butter on, poured a cup of milk from the fridge I keep for egg wash, and set all of it on the steel bench. Then I turned around and walked to the far oven and started fiddling with a proofing thermostat that did not need fiddling with. I'd like to say I planned that. I didn't. I just remembered being 22 and broke in a church basement outside Akron, and how the worst part wasn't the food line. The worst part was the guy watching me eat. Behind me I heard a chair scrape and then the sound of a kid tearing into bread. "Chew it, honey. Nobody's taking it." 4 o'clock, the back door banged, and Sal Renzi came in, stomping snow off his boots and complaining about his knee before he even got his coat off. 64 years old, 31 of them at this bench, and the man has never once entered a room quietly. He stopped, looked at Nora, looked at the kid, looked at me. "Ray." "Sal. You want to tell me something?" "Not particularly." He hung up his coat. Then he went into the back and came out dragging one of those green plastic chairs we use in the summer when the loading doors open, and he set it down next to the bench like he'd been meaning to do it for years. "Sit," he told Nora. "That stool's gonna kill your back. Ask me how I know." Nora's eyes went glassy. "Thank you." "Don't thank me, thank the chair." He tied on his apron and jerked his chin at the wall. "Ray, there's a spare on the nail. It's clean." I took it down and held it out to her without saying anything about it. And she took it without saying anything about it either, and something in my throat went tight and stupid. By 5, June had eaten most of a loaf and was up on the green chair with her elbows on the steel watching Sal shape rolls like it was television. She had the notebook open in front of her. She had a pencil. "June," Sal said, "you writing a book?" "No." "What are you writing?" She looked up at me with the most ordinary face a child has ever made. "Do you have to write this down?" I laughed. I actually laughed. "Write what down, kiddo?" "That we came here." She tapped the page with her pencil patient like I was slow. "And what time? And if Mom ate?" Nora came across that floor so fast she caught the milk with her hip. The cup went over white, spreading across the steel and running off the edge onto the flour, and she had the notebook out of her daughter's hands before the sound stopped. June's lips started trembling. "Mommy, I didn't. I know you didn't." Nora's whole body was shaking now, and her voice came out in a whisper I had to lean in to hear. "I know, baby." 7 in the morning, the sun came up gray over the parking lot, and Sal asked the question I'd been dodging since 4. "So what happens now?" She goes. "Goes where?" "Sal. I'm asking a normal question, Ray. I got a daughter, I got grandkids. Where does a woman with a 7-year-old go at 7 in the morning on a Saturday?" Nora answered from the green chair without lifting her head. "I have until Sunday at 6. Sal turned. "Until Sunday what?" "6 o'clock. That's when I bring her back." She pushed her hair off her face with the back of her wrist. "There's a temporary parenting time order. A magistrate signed it in October. Her father has residential custody, which means she lives with him and the school district goes off his address. I get every other weekend, Friday at 6 to Sunday at 6, 48 hours. And after Sunday, I'm just a woman with a car." Sal's jaw worked. "Then call a shelter. There's a good one on Lorraine. The nuns run it. My sister-in-law volunteers." "No." "Why no?" "Because there's a hearing coming." Her voice went thin and fast, and both her hands started shaking again, so she wrapped them around each other. "He filed a motion. He wants my weekends cut to supervised visits at an agency 4 hours twice a month with somebody sitting in the room writing down what I say to my own kid. And the one thing that would hand it to him is a piece of paper somewhere with my name on it that says, 'I don't have anywhere to live.' That ain't right." "That's not the same as untrue." She laughed, and it came out ugly and wet. "I asked my lawyer. She said don't do anything that generates a record. So I don't generate records. I sleep in the car and I generate nothing." Sal took his glasses off and pinched the bridge of his nose, and I watched a man in his 60s try very hard not to cry into his own apron. She came back Saturday night. I told myself I wasn't watching the lot at 11. I was. She knocked twice on the glass, and June was already asleep against her shoulder, and I had the door open before the second knock finished. "You're early," I said. "Early for what?" "For the part where I pretend I wasn't waiting." That got the first real smile out of her. Small crook had gone in a second, but I saw it. I poured her coffee. Black. She reached past me, took 2 sugars off the shelf, tore them together, and dumped both in. "2, I said. "Always 2. "Noted." "Are you writing it down?" She winced the second it left her mouth. "God, sorry. That was a terrible joke." "It was a decent joke. Timing was rough." She sat down on the green chair and put both hands around the cup like it was a campfire. "Can I ask you something rude?" "Everybody does." "You're what, 40? 41. You're 41, you own the building, and you work the shift that only ghosts and truckers are awake for. Why? Sleep's an activity for people with curtains." "That's not an answer." "It's the answer I've got at 11 at night." She laughed into the coffee and steam went up over her face, and I had to go check a thermostat again. Somewhere around 2, she told me about the license. "I was a rad tech, radiologic technologist, 9 years. What happened?" "Student loan went into default." She said it flat eyes on the bench. "Ohio can suspend a professional license for that, so they did. No job, no license, no license, no job. It's a very tidy little loop. That's legal. It's legal." I believed her. I want that on the record because it matters later. I believed every word of it, and I felt sorry for her, and I said something useless about how the whole system was a racket. She nodded and drank her coffee and didn't correct me. Sunday at 6, she took June back. She was gone 4 hours and came back with her mascara gone and her hands steady in a way that scared me more than the shaking had. "Don't ask," she said. "Wasn't going to. Ask me tomorrow. Deal." At 11 that night, a man walked in my front door holding 2 coffees. Scrubs under an open winter coat. Hospital badge clipped at the hip. Late 30s, clean-shaven, the kind of tired that looks earned. "You're Ray Halloran." "We're not open." "I know, I'm sorry." He set one of the coffees on my counter and put both palms up. "I'm Curtis Vance. I'm June's dad." Every muscle in my back locked. "I'm not here to do anything," he said. "My daughter came home Sunday smelling like bread and talking about a green chair. Parma's got 4 bakeries. This one's the only one running at night. What do you want?" "Honestly, I wanted to say thank you." He rubbed his eyes with his thumb and forefinger. "Whatever you did, she was warm, so thank you. That's it." "No." He exhaled. Look, I'm going to say something and you're going to think I'm running you. Nora's not a bad person. I need you to hear that from me first because you're going to hear a lot of things. She's not bad. She's not well. And I have spent 2 years trying to help her, and I have run out of ways that don't hurt everybody. He put a business card on the counter next to the coffee. If she comes back, you don't have to turn her in. I'm not asking that. Just call me so I know where my kid is. That's all I want. That's all I've ever wanted. Then he walked out into the snow like a man who'd done something hard and decent. I stood there and I believed him. Maybe 60%, maybe more. I picked up the card and put it in my apron pocket, and that's when I noticed my hand was shaking. Tuesday night she showed up in the apron before I'd even turned the mixer on. Sal says I score straighter than you. Sal says a lot of things. Sal thinks the Browns have a future. Hey, Sal pointed a floury finger across the bench. That's my heart you're stepping on. I handed her the lame. It's a curved blade on a stick, and it's the part of this job that separates people who bake from people who own bakeries. You've got maybe 2 seconds per loaf. Too shallow, the bread splits ugly. Too deep, it collapses. Wrong angle, you get nothing. 45 degrees, I said. One motion. Don't saw it. She took the handle, set the blade against the dough, and opened it in one clean stroke like she was signing her name. Then she did 15 more. Sal whistled low and long. Madonna mia. Ray, come look at this. I'm looking. No, come look. That's a surgeon's hand right there. 9 years of holding a patient still with one arm and a cassette with the other, Nora said. She was grinning and her whole face had changed shape doing it. You want steady hands, try shooting a chest film on a screaming 4-year-old. The bench scraper went out of my fingers and hit the floor with a bang that made everybody jump. Butterfingers, Sal said. Grip's shot. Your grip's fine. He picked it up, handed it back, and leaned in close enough that his voice didn't carry. You're looking at her the way you look at the oven at 4 a.m. Sal, I'm just saying what my eyes are doing. Say it quieter. I'm 64. Quiet's expensive. She stayed until 6. Sometime around 3, she got the radio going and started arguing with Sal about whether Cleveland or Buffalo has worse January, and Sal was yelling about lake effect, and she was laughing so hard she had to put a hand on the bench, and I stood there with a pan of rolls burning slightly at the edges because I forgot to turn them. That was Tuesday. Wednesday I found the notebook. It was down behind the green chair wedged between the leg and the wall, and it had been there since Sunday. Green spiral. Kid handwriting on the cover in marker June V. I should have set it on the shelf. That's what a decent person does. But it fell open when I picked it up, and it fell open to a page near the back, and the thing that stopped me was that it was ruled off into columns. A 7-year-old had drawn columns. Jan 6. Mom was 22, min late. Jan 6. Mom cried in the car at the light. Jan 7. Mom didn't eat breakfast. Jan 7. Mom forgot my inhaler at the place with the bread. Page 41. I counted later. Every page before it was the same. Dates, times, little flat sentences about her mother written in pencil going back months. I turned to the front. Inside the cover in adult handwriting, blue ballpoint neat as a chart note, June, write down everything so we can help Mommy remember. She forgets, and it's not her fault. You're being a big helper. Love, Dad. My ears started ringing. I sat down on the green chair because my legs quit on me. I read it 4 times. Every time I read it, it got worse because every time I understood a little more of what I was holding. That wasn't a diary. That was an exhibit. Somebody had taught a first grader to build a case, told her it was kindness, and she'd been carrying it around in her coat for a year thinking she was helping. And here's the part that turned my stomach inside out. She'd written it in my bakery, Sunday morning. She'd sat on that chair with a pencil and asked me a straight question. Do you have to write this down? And I'd laughed at her. Nora knocked at 11. I had the notebook on the bench closed, and I couldn't make myself put it out of sight. She saw it from the door. She stopped hard, one hand still on the frame. Where was that? Behind the chair. Give it to me. Nora. Ray. Her voice came out shredded. Give it to me right now, please. Whose handwriting is inside the front cover? She crossed the floor and took it off the bench and pressed it against her chest with both arms, and she was breathing like she'd run there. You read it. I read 1 page and then I read the front. You had no right. I know. You had no right. I know I didn't. My throat closed up on me. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me what I think that isn't what it is, and I'll never bring it up again. Her mouth opened. Nothing came out of it. And then her face broke apart all at once, the way a wall goes. Not slowly, not gracefully, just gone, and she doubled over with the notebook still crushed to her chest and started sobbing so hard the sound had no air in it. She got a hand over her mouth to smother it. Both hands. Her shoulders were going like something was shaking her from the inside. "He's been doing it since she was 6, she said into her palms. "Since she was 6, Ray." The notebook went back. That was her lawyer's call, and she made it at 1 in the morning from a legal aid voicemail box, and the callback came at 9. "She says I have to give it to him," Nora told me the next night. Her eyes were swollen down to slits. "She says if I keep it, he files an emergency motion by Friday, and the first line of it is that I removed evidence from my daughter's possession." It's a kid's notebook. It's a document. That's the whole problem, Ray. Once a thing is in a case, it stops being what it is and starts being what it can be used for. So he gets it back. He gets it back. Her jaw was trembling, and she pressed her thumb against it to stop it. "And I hand my daughter the thing he's using against me, and I smile while I do it, because if I cry, she writes down that I cried." Saturday morning, Sal came in through the front with the mail instead of the back with his coffee, which is how I knew. "You want it now or after the bake?" "Now." He put the envelope on the bench. St. Brendan's Children's Hospital Food Services 30 days notice, effective the 14th of February. I read it twice and my ears went hot. "That's 440 loaves a week," Sal said. "I can count." "That's 22% of gross, Ray. I do the books on Thursdays, that's—" "Sal, I can count." He took his glasses off and cleaned them on his apron, which is what he does instead of throwing things. 14 years we've had that account. 14. And it comes on a form letter with a stamped signature. He shoved the glasses back on. "I'm calling Dawn." "Who's Dawn?" "Dawn Petrosky. Nurse over there, her mother sits behind me at St. Charles. She'll tell me who signed off on it." "Don't." "Why don't—" "Because I already know who signed off on it." Sal's mouth opened. Then it closed. Then he sat down on the green chair very slowly, like a man whose knee had finally won. "Madonna," he said. "She came in at 11 and she knew something was wrong from the doorway because she stopped and put a hand flat on the wall." "What?" "Hospital dropped us." "Which hospital?" "You know which hospital." Her face went the color of raw dough. "Ray, I'll go, tonight. I'll get in the car and you'll never—" "Sit down. You don't understand what he does. Sit down." It came out louder than I meant, and I got a breath in and started over. "Sit, please. I have a question and I've been holding it for 3 days and it's eating a hole in me." She sat. "The license," I said. "Tell me again." "I told you. Tell me again." Her hands went around each other. "Student loan. Default. The state pulls the license." "Nora, that happens. It's a real thing. People lose licenses for that. It's a real thing. Is it your thing?" And that was when she started crying again, but different this time, low and furious, like she was angry at the tears for showing up. "No." "Okay. No, it's not my thing." She wiped her face hard with the heel of her hand. "Somebody filed a complaint with the Ohio Department of Health. That's who licenses radiologic technologists in this state. Anybody can file one. You don't need a lawyer. You don't need a witness. You don't even need to sign your name." "What did it say?" "That I falsified patient records, altered exam documentation." Her voice cracked wide open. "Ray, I have never in 9 years touched a chart that wasn't mine to touch. So tell them that." I did tell them that." She laughed, and it was a horrible sound. "It goes to adjudication. There's a whole administrative process, there's a hearing examiner, there's a docket. My license sits in suspended status the entire time. Not revoked, suspended pending, which means I'm not guilty of anything and I also can't work." "How long?" 11 months so far. My hearing's in the spring." She looked up at me and her chin was going. "And here's the part I couldn't say out loud to you. The complaint listed 3 specific exams. Dates, room numbers. One of them was a Tuesday. I came home crying because a kid coded in the hallway. The heat went out of my chest and something colder took its place. Nobody knew that but him," she said. "I got the towel off the rack and put it in her hands, and then I went over and cranked the proofer up 8 degrees because the room was cold and it was the only useful thing left in reach. Sal had been standing by the mixer through all of it with his arms folded and his face like a closed church. Nora. Sal, don't be nice to me right now, I'll come apart. Then come apart, but hear me first. He crossed the floor. You start Monday, on the books. W-2 taxes out a real stub with a real employer identification number on it. 11 to 7 4 nights, $12.50 an hour to start, because that's what I started at and I turned out fine. Her mouth opened. Her whole body started shaking. A pay stub, she whispered. A judge will look at a pay stub. A judge will look at a pay stub, Sal agreed. And a pay stub with my name on it comes with me in a suit saying so. She was laughing and sobbing at the same time, both hands over her face, and Sal patted her shoulder twice with the flat of his hand like he was settling dough. And I stood there feeling something warm crack open in my chest for about 9 seconds. Then I reached into my apron pocket for a pen to write down the hours, and what came out with it was a business card. Nora saw it hit the bench face up. Her whole body went rigid. Where did you get that? He came here. Sunday night, after you dropped her off. And you didn't tell me. Nora picked the card up by one corner like it was wet. 6 days, Ray. I know how long it's been. What did he say to you? He said you weren't a bad person. Her head came up. What? He said you weren't bad, you were unwell, and he'd spent 2 years trying to help and run out of ways that didn't hurt anybody. My face was on fire. He brought me a coffee. He said thank you. He asked me to call him so he'd know where his kid was, and he said it like a man who hadn't slept in a year, and I stood right there and I believed about 60% of it. 60, give or take. She sat down hard on the green chair and put her hands over her mouth, and when she took them away, she was laughing in this cracked, disbelieving way that hurt to listen to. That's the trick, she said. That's the whole trick. He never says one bad word about me. Not one. He says I'm worried about her. He says it to my mother. He said it to my dentist, Ray. And every person who hears it walks away thinking they've met the most patient man in Ohio. Nora. And then they meet me and I'm the one who's shaking. I came around the bench and crouched down so I wasn't standing over her. I'm going to say this once. I was wrong. I let a man in my shop who cost me a 14-year account 4 days later, and I kept a card in my pocket like an idiot, and I'm sorry. Her chin buckled. You don't have to. I'm not finished. The second thing is he's not getting near this building again. Not the front, not the alley, not the lot. Sal put it on the door. It's a laminated sign now. He laminated it. He was very happy about the laminating. She made a sound that was half sob and half laugh, and she caught my sleeve the same way she had that first night, except her hand was warm this time. That was Sunday. Friday the 19th at 6, she picked June up. Saturday night, the two of them came through my back door at 11, bringing half the snow in Cuyahoga County with them. Ray, June had her boots off before her coat. Mom says I can do the seed one. The seed one's the hardest one. I know. That's why I said it. Sal set her up on a milk crate at the end of the bench with a tray of semolina rolls and a bowl of sesame, and she went at it with the concentration of a bomb technician. Around 3, the radio started doing what it does, which is drift, because the tuning knob came off in 2011, and Sal says replacing it would be admitting something. It slid off the AM sports station and landed on some oldies signal out of Akron, and Sam Cooke came out of a speaker held to the wall with duct tape. Nora stopped with a bowl of Poolish in her hands. Oh, she said. Oh no, that's not fair. What's not fair? My grandmother's kitchen is what's not fair. Her eyes went bright and wet. She had a yellow radio on top of the fridge, and she would not let anybody touch it. June was already gone, folded over a flour sack in the corner with her cheek on the burlap out cold. Look at her, Nora whispered. She's got flour in her eyebrows. She's going to hate that in the morning. Sal from the far oven without turning around. Somebody's going to dance or somebody's going to hand me that peel, and I got a bad knee, so... Nora set the bowl down. He's very subtle, she said. He's Italian and 64. Subtle's for people with time. She held her hand out, and I want to be honest about what happened in my chest, which is that it slammed twice and then forgot how. We danced maybe 40 seconds. In the aisle between the racks where there's about 4 feet of floor and a proofing cart with a bad wheel. Her hand had flour on it, and so did mine, and the whole front of her apron went white against my shirt, and neither one of us said a single word about what it was. The song ended. The station drifted into a car dealership ad. That's the Lord telling us to get back to work, she said, and her cheeks were red and she wouldn't look right at me. June from the flour sack without opening her eyes. Are you guys going to get married or what? I dropped the peel. Nora put both hands over her face. Sal laughed so hard he had to hold the oven door. Go back to sleep, June, Nora said. I am asleep. 6 in the morning, the light was coming up gray, and Nora had her laptop open on the bench for the first time since I'd known her checking whether legal aid had written back. Her hand stopped on the trackpad. No, she said. What? No. She turned the screen toward me. Read that. Automated reminder. St. Brendan's Children's Hospital Pediatric Pulmonology Follow-up for June Vance. Saturday the 20th, 10:15 in the morning. That's yesterday, I said. That's yesterday at 10:15, which is when I was at the laundromat on Ridge with my kid because nobody told me. Her voice was climbing. It was on the 6th. It was booked for the 6th of February, and I have it on my calendar, and he moved it. Can he do that? He works there, Ray. She was typing fast hands, unsteady. Charge nurse. He has a scheduling access. He can move an appointment at 4 o'clock on a Friday, and the system sends the reminder to whatever address is listed as guardian, and he's the address. Nora, slow down. I'm not slowing down, I'm counting. She turned the laptop around again, and I looked at 11 rows of highlighted text going back over a year. 11 reschedules. 11 follow-ups for a kid with asthma moved at the last minute, every single one of them landing inside her 48 hours. And every one of them, she said, goes in her chart as parent did not present. Guess which parent? Her fingers had gone white on the edge of the table. That was when my phone lit up on the shelf. A landline number, Cleveland Exchange, 6:20 in the morning. Mr. Halloran, my name is Marguerite Okonjo. I've been appointed guardian ad litem in the Vance matter, which means the court has assigned me to investigate and report on what's in that child's best interest. Your name has come up twice. She didn't take notes. That's what I noticed first. Marguerite Okonjo sat on the green chair Wednesday at 2 in the afternoon with a leather folder closed on her lap and her coat still buttoned, and she looked at my face the entire time like the folder was a formality and I was the document. You bake at night, 11 to 7, and you sleep when? Afternoons, mostly. So I'm costing you sleep. She said it flat without apology. Good. Tired men lie less. Ma'am, can I ask what this is? You can. I'll answer it properly because half of what goes wrong in these cases is people guessing. She folded her hands. Mr. Vance has filed a motion to reallocate parental rights and responsibilities. In plain English, he's asking the court to change the current custody arrangement. The magistrate appointed me under Rule 48 to investigate and file a written report on what's in June Vance's best interest. That report goes on the docket 7 days before the hearing. The hearing is February 16th. And the magistrate does what you say. The magistrate is not required to do anything I say. Her eyebrow went up a quarter inch. The magistrate reads what I write. Draw your own conclusions about weight. Okay, now, you employ Ms. Vance. My partner does the hiring, Sal Renzi. It's on the books W-2 4 nights a week. I've seen the stub. I requested it Monday. She tilted her head. Are you sleeping with her? The heat went up the back of my neck so fast my eyes watered. No. Do you want to be? It's a rude question and I've asked it 11 times this month. She still hadn't opened the folder. Mr. Halloran, I don't care about your feelings. I care about what a man across the table from me can do with them. Then no, nothing's happened. I believe you. She let that sit exactly 1 beat. It won't matter. My stomach dropped. What does that mean? It means I've read the other side's filings and you're in them. Now she opened the folder and she read it out to me in a voice with no music in it at all. Mother has no independent residence and has been observed overnight at a commercial food production facility with a single adult male, 41, unrelated to the child. Mother's employment is provided by the same facility. Mother's transportation meals and child's meals during parenting time are provided by the same facility. That's Sal hired her, that's food, that's a chair. Mr. Halloran. She was sleeping in a car. Mr. Halloran. Her voice didn't rise, it just landed. I know what it is. I am telling you what it looks like on paper to a magistrate with 14 minutes. My hands started shaking and I put them under the bench. There is a word opposing counsel is going to use, she said. The word is dependency. Every kind thing you have done for that woman since the 6th of January converts in a courtroom into evidence that she cannot stand up without a man holding her elbow. That is the argument. It is not a good argument. It is an extremely effective one. So what do I do? You want the honest answer or the comfortable one? Honest. Get out of the picture. She closed the folder. Not the job. The job helps her, it's income, it's a stub, it's a supervisor who'll testify. Keep the job, get rid of you. No visits during her parenting time, no presents when the child is present. Nothing a photograph could make into a family. You're telling me to disappear. I'm telling you that every time you show up, you hand that man another page. She stood and put her card on the bench, and for 1 second, something moved behind her eyes that wasn't procedure. Mr. Halloran, I've been doing this 19 years. The men who lose these for the women they love are almost never the cruel ones. Nora came in at 10:45, which was early because Sal had called her. She came all the way across the floor and stopped 1.5 feet from me, and her eyes were already wet. Sal told me she came. She came. What did she say? She said you're a documented employee with a supervisor who'll testify for you, and I'm a variable. My throat had closed to about the width of a straw. She said keep the job, lose the friendship. She said it nicer than that. Ray. She used the word dependency. She said every good thing I've done since the 6th turns into a sentence in a brief. Nora made a sound in her chest like something tearing. She's not wrong. That's the horrible part. She's not wrong. I know. He'll put a picture of that green chair in front of a judge and it'll look like... I know what it'll look like. And then neither one of us was standing where we'd been standing. I don't know which of us moved. Her hand came up and stopped in the air between us, and her whole arm was trembling, and she was close enough that I could see the flower in her hairline and the pulse going in her throat like a bird. Ray, she said, and my name came out wrecked. I got my hand as far as her wrist. She stepped back, fast, both palms up. If you touch me right now, she whispered, I have to disclose it. She'll ask me under oath, and I'll have to say it out loud with a stenographer typing and my daughter's name on the caption. I got one breath in. It hurt. Then I reached back, untied the apron, and hung it on the nail, and I heard my own voice say the thing I swore in a courthouse hallway 4 years ago I would never say to a woman again. Then quit. She didn't cry. She got angry, and I wasn't ready for it. No. Nora. No. She came right at me and jabbed a finger into the middle of my chest. You don't get to fire me from the only legal documented taxable thing in my life because a woman with a folder scared you. She didn't scare me, she scared you. Her eyes were blazing wet. You want to be noble on your own time. That stub is the only piece of paper in the world with my name on it that says I'm a person who shows up. Sal came out of the back with a rack in his hands and set it down hard. She's staying, he said. Sal. My shop, my hire, my problem. He pointed the tongs at me. You want out of the picture, Raymond, then get out of the picture, not out of her paycheck. There's a difference and you're too tired to see it. So that's what I did. I moved myself to days. 14 years I hadn't seen the sun, and I started seeing it doing orders and invoices and vendor calls in the front office from 8 to 4, and at 10:45 every night I locked the office and went home before her car pulled in. We left each other notes on the bench. Hers Tuesday, proofer 2 is running hot. Also, Sal told June you were on vacation and she asked which island. Mine Wednesday, tell her Aruba. Commit to the lie. Hers Thursday. She asked if they have bread there. She's very suspicious of you. That was our week. 6 inches of stainless steel and a golf pencil. Then the 30th 4 in the afternoon, my office phone rang, and it was her, and she was breathing wrong. They won't give them to me. Give you what? June's records. Pulmonology, the whole file. My lawyer said get certified copies of every visit, every reschedule, every no-show note, so I called medical records this morning. And the woman was lovely. She was genuinely lovely, Ray. That's what makes it worse. Her voice was climbing. She said absolutely a parent can request a minor's chart. She said the standard processing window is 30 business days. I did the math and my stomach turned over. That's after the hearing. That's 2 weeks after the hearing. Something crumpled in her throat. I asked for expedited. She said expedited requires the requesting party to submit a court order or a signed release from the guardian on file. Who's the guardian on file? Ray. Who is it? Who do you think it is? I sat down on the edge of the desk. So ask him. I've asked him 4 times since November. He says he'll get to it. He said it again on Sunday in a text with a smiley face. Then have your lawyer subpoena the hospital. She's supposed to file it Monday. A long, shaky breath. Monday's the 5th. Records take time to produce even under subpoena. Everybody keeps telling me the same thing in a very kind voice, which is that the calendar is just going to run out. Nora, listen to me. Do not do anything tonight. I'm not doing anything tonight. Say it like you mean it. I'm tired, Ray. I have to go. She drove to Strongsville at 11:15. I know the exact time because it's stamped on the video, and I've seen the video because on Friday, the second Marguerite Okonjo called me at 7 in the morning and said in that flat voice of hers, Mr. Halloran, I'd rather you hear this from me. 3 minutes and 20 seconds. Nora on a doorstep in the snow with no coat because she'd left it in the car with the engine running. Knocking, then knocking again, then knocking with the side of her fist 11 times, and the microphone on those doorbell cameras is good enough to pick up a woman's voice cracking in half. Curtis, open the door. I just want the release form. That's all. That's all I want. Then the porch light comes on and his voice comes through the speaker low and patient and terribly, terribly calm. June's asleep. You're going to wake her up. And Nora put both hands flat on that door and screamed at it. She came to the bakery Friday night. I broke my own rule and I was there. You've seen it, she said from the doorway. Marguerite sent it. How bad? Nora, how bad, Ray? You look exactly like the woman in his affidavit. My voice came apart on it. That's how bad. Her legs went. She caught the bench with one hand and went down onto the green chair and folded over her own knees, and the sound she made was nothing I ever want to hear again, deep and animal coming up out of somewhere under her ribs. He waited, she sobbed. He stood behind that door and he let it run. I know. 19 months, Ray. 19 months of not giving him one single thing, and I handed it to him in 3 minutes. I got down on the floor in front of her and put my hands on the arms of the chair on either side of her, not touching her because I still wasn't allowed to. Legal aid dropped me at 4 o'clock. They what? Limited scope representation. That's the actual term. She was laughing and sobbing at once, wiping her face with both hands. It means they were only ever advising me not appearing for me. She wrote that after Tuesday night she can't continue in an advisory capacity and the office can't take the full case for the 16th. So who stands up for you? I do. Her chin was shaking so hard she could barely get the words out. Pro se. It means representing yourself. It means I walk into a courtroom against a lawyer he's paid since October and I'm the one they'll be watching for signs I'm not stable. Then I'm coming. No. She grabbed the front of my shirt in her fist and pulled hard, and her forehead came down against my knuckles. No, don't you understand? You're the most expensive thing I have ever let myself want. She left at 3. Sal watched the door swing shut behind her. Then he put his hand on my shoulder and left it there. How long you planning to hide, Ray? I'm not hiding. I know about the boy. There's no boy. Ray. His hand tightened on my shoulder. There's a school picture in the register drawer under the coin rolls. I do the books on Thursdays. I've done the books on Thursdays for 11 years. Sal. Kid's got a gap in his teeth and a Cavs jersey. He came around and got in front of me so I couldn't turn away from him. Whatever you're punishing yourself for, you've been paying on it a long time. Go find out what the balance actually is. Medina's 40 minutes south if the salt trucks have been through. Shannon Beck came to the door in a Kent State sweatshirt with a dish towel over her shoulder, and she looked at me for a good 3 seconds before she got a hand over her mouth. Ray. Hi, Sean. You're gray. I'm 41. Yeah, well, I'm 43 and I'm lying about it. Her eyes were already wet. Get in here before you let the heat out. There were sneakers by the door in 3 different sizes and a spelling test on the fridge that wasn't his handwriting, and I stood in the kitchen of a house where my life used to be and held a mug I didn't drink from. I need to ask you something, and I need you not to be kind about it. Okay. The custody thing. My throat was already closing. I want to hear you say what happened, because I've been telling it one way for 4 years, and I'm starting to think I've been lying to myself with your voice. Shannon set the towel down. Say your version first. Fine. I put the mug down harder than I meant to. I raised that kid from 4 to 10. I did every drop-off, every strep test, every Christmas Eve at 2 in the morning putting together a bike. And when it ended, I went to a lawyer and he told me I had no standing. Not a parent, not a guardian. Legal stranger, that's the actual phrase he used. Ohio doesn't recognize step-parent visitation the way it recognizes a father's. So the court gave me nothing because on paper I was nothing. That's true, Shannon said. So, that's all true, Ray, and it is not what happened. She pulled a chair out and sat, and her chin started going. The court took your rights. Nobody took your phone. The kitchen tilted. What? He got a phone when he turned 12. She was crying now openly the way she used to when she was angry at herself. The first thing that child did, the first thing, was text you. I watched him do it. He sat on that step right there and he typed for 20 minutes. I never... Don't. Her hand came up. Don't say you never got them. I sat with him for 2 years while he checked. Birthdays. He sent you one when he made JV. He sent you one when my dad died, Ray, because he thought you'd want to know. I had my phone out of my pocket and I couldn't make my thumb work. The thread was there. It had been muted since a Tuesday in March 2 years ago, sitting in a folder I'd stopped opening because opening it felt like standing in that hallway again. 41 messages. The last one was from November. Hey, I think about the bakery sometimes. That's all. He asked me for 2 years what he did wrong, Shannon said, and she reached across and put her hand flat on the table next to mine. I kept telling him it wasn't about him, and he'd say, then why doesn't he write back? My hand started shaking so violently I had to set the phone face down. I told myself I was doing the decent thing. My voice came out in pieces. I told myself a clean break was better for him. I have said that sentence out loud to people. I believed it. I know. That's not decency, Shan. No, she said gently. It's easier than decency. That's why it sounds so much like it. It was sleeting when I got back to the lot at 10. She was standing by her car with her keys in her fist. Sal called me, Nora said. He said, get here. He wouldn't say why. Ray, your hands are you're shaking. What happened? He texted me for 2 years and I never answered. What? Dylan. His name came out of my mouth for the first time since I could remember, and it broke on the way. I've been telling everybody the court took him. The court took a piece of paper. I did the rest of it myself, and I called it doing right by him. And I went down. Right there on the wet asphalt with the sleet coming sideways, 41 years old, hands over my face, sobbing like something had been cut out of me, and she got both arms around my head and pulled it against her and held on with her whole body. Okay, she kept saying. Okay, okay. When I got my breath, she was crying too. Mascara gone her thumbs on my cheekbones. I've been so careful, she whispered. I know. I have been so careful, and I'm so tired of it. She kissed me with the sleet coming down, and her fingers locked in the collar of my coat, and it wasn't gentle and it wasn't sweet. It was 2 people who had been holding a door shut for a month, letting it swing. Then she pulled back an inch, and I said the thing. I'm not coming on the 16th. Her hand stopped. What? Marguerite's right. Every place I stand, he takes a picture of it. I made myself keep going. You walk in there and you're a woman with a job and a stub and a nurse's word, not a woman with a man. She let go of my collar and stepped back, and the sleet ran down her face where the tears already were. Say that again. Nora, you're doing it to me right now. Her voice came out so quiet it hurt worse than screaming. That's what this is. You're calling it protection, and you're doing the exact same thing you did to that boy. My heart clenched so hard I couldn't get a word out because she was right. 6 in the morning on the 16th of February, I dropped the bench scraper 3 times, and the 3rd time Sal took it out of my hand and put it in his apron pocket like he was confiscating a knife. Sit down. I've got 200 rolls. You've got 200 rolls in a man's hands. He pushed the stool at me. Sit. What time do they start? 9. Cuyahoga County Domestic Relations, the Lakeside Building. I was talking to hear myself. It's a magistrate, not a judge. Magistrates handle these. She writes a decision, and it goes to the judge for adoption. You've read up. I've read everything. My eyes were burning. I've read about everything except how to sit in a room and bake bread. At 12:15, my phone went off, and it was a number I didn't know. Is this Ray? This is Dawn Petrosky. I work with Curtis. Worked. God. Her voice was wrecked. Sal gave me this number. I'm in a stairwell at the courthouse. I'm not supposed to talk about it. They separate the witnesses, you sit in the hall and you can't hear anything. Ma'am, slow down. She subpoenaed me herself. A wet, disbelieving laugh. Did you know a person can do that? She's representing herself, so she walked into the clerk's office with a form and had me served like a lawyer would. This little woman with a folder. What did you say in there? I told them about the break room. Dawn started crying hard. 2 years ago, nights we were slammed and somebody asked Curtis how he was holding up with the divorce and he said... She stopped and got a breath. He said, I'm not worried, I've got documentation going back 18 months and she doesn't know it exists. The floor moved under me. 6 of us heard him, she said. 6. And every one of us laughed because Curtis is funny. Curtis is charming, and we all decided he was joking, and I went home and I made dinner, and I did not think about that woman one time in 2 years. Dawn. I'm 47 years old, and I sat in a witness box today and said I'm sorry to a stranger. At 3, she came to the bakery in a black coat with the courthouse pass still clipped to it, and Sal put coffee in front of her, and she wrapped her hands around it exactly the way Nora had that first week. They let me stay after I was excused, she said. I sat in the back. And... The guardian testified, Ms. Okonjo. Dawn set the cup down. Ray, she interviewed that little girl twice. Once at school with a counselor, once at the office. And the second time, June brought the notebook with her because June thinks it's homework. She thinks she's a helper. Sal made a sound behind me like he'd been hit. And Okonjo read from it in open court, and she read the parts nobody was expecting because a 7-year-old doesn't write only what she's told. Dawn's chin was shaking. Kids write down everything. In between the lines about her mother, there's lines about her father. With dates, with times. In her own handwriting. What kind of lines? November 11th. Dad said don't tell Mom about the new appointment. She had it memorized. She'd heard it 4 hours ago, and she had it memorized. January 30th. Dad and me practiced what to say to the lady with the folder. My chest went so tight I had to put a hand on the bench. He coached her, I said. He coached her, and she wrote it down because he taught her to write everything down. Dawn was sobbing now into a paper napkin. He built it. He built the whole thing, and then he handed it to her, and she carried it around in her coat for a year, and it was recording him the entire time. Sal had his glasses off and both hands over his face. What did he do? I said. He stood up. In front of the magistrate. He stood up out of his chair while she was still reading, and his lawyer grabbed his sleeve and he pulled his arm away. Dawn's eyes came up. And this is a man I have watched hold a screaming toddler still for a spinal tap without raising his voice. Ray, I've never heard that sound come out of him. What did he say? He said she's 7, she doesn't understand what she's writing down. Dawn wiped her face. And Okonjo said that's rather the point, Mr. Vance. And he lost it. He said, and he was loud, he was so loud the bailiff moved. Dawn. He said I never asked that child to lie. I asked her to remember, which is more than her mother has ever managed in her entire... Dawn stopped. And then he hurt himself. You could see it land on his face. And he sat down. Nobody in my bakery said one word for about 5 seconds. And then Sal turned around and put both hands on the mixer and stood there with his shoulders going. Where's Nora now? They were still going when I left. The magistrate has to make findings. Dawn stood up and buttoned her coat with unsteady fingers. I have a shift at 7. I don't know how I'm supposed to walk into that building tonight. Same way she walked into that one, Sal said. 1 foot, then the other one. 4 o'clock. The ovens were down and the front was dark, and I was standing in my own shop holding a phone that would not ring. Then it rang. Nora? I heard her breathe in. I heard it catch. It's over, Ray. And then she went to pieces so completely that I couldn't tell for 11 of the longest seconds of my life which way it had gone. Nora, breathe. Which way? He lost. She was gulping air. Ray, he lost. My knees went and I sat down on the flour bin. Say it again. Motion denied. Denied from the bench. She didn't even take it under advisement. She was laughing and sobbing at the same time. She adopted the guardian's recommendation on an interim basis. School stays put for now, but parenting time flips. I get her most of the month, he gets alternating weekends, and there's a psychological evaluation ordered before anything else moves. His lawyer asked for a continuance, and she said no. When does it start? Immediately. It's effective immediately, that's what interim means. Her voice cracked wide open. I have her tomorrow, Ray. I have my daughter tomorrow morning. Then get here. I don't have anywhere to put her. I don't have Nora. What? There's a green chair. She came at 9 in the morning with the sun up, and June came through the back door in a purple coat with a brand new notebook under her arm. "Ray. Hey, kid. Mom said you weren't in Aruba. Mom's a snitch. She said you were being noble, which is a grown-up word for stupid." Sal choked on his coffee. June climbed onto the green chair and put the notebook on the steel bench and slid it across to me with one finger. "This one's mine," she said. "The lady with the folder said the other one was for the grown-ups now and I could start over, so I started over." "Yeah. You're on the first page." I opened it. One line in pencil pressed so hard the paper had dented. "Jan 6. The bread man let us come in and he turned around so Mom could eat. My eyes flooded so fast I couldn't get the page back into focus." "I spelled bread wrong," June said. "Mom told me I'm leaving it. Don't you change a letter of it. Are you crying?" "Yeah, honey, I am." "Why?" "Because you wrote down the right thing." My voice came apart in the middle of it. "For a whole year somebody had you writing down the wrong thing, and the first time it was yours you wrote down that one." Nora had both hands over her mouth in the doorway, and tears were running off her jaw, and she wasn't wiping them. Sal walked out to the front so nobody would see his face, which fooled exactly no one. I went into the office and shut the door and sat down and got my phone out, and my hands were shaking so badly I had to type it 3 times. 41 messages, 2 years, muted since a Tuesday in March. I read them all. Then before I could talk myself out of it, "I'm sorry, Dylan, I have no excuse. I'd like to hear from you if you ever want. I'm at the bakery. I'm always at the bakery." The 3 dots came up in 11 seconds. They stopped. They came back. They stopped again. "Then do you still do the seated ones?" I put my head down on that desk and cried like a man who'd been holding something up with his shoulders for 4 years and finally set it down. 11 months later, on a Saturday in January, the front bell went at 10 in the morning. Not the alley door, the front. "You're going to be mad at me," Nora said. "Historically, that's true. I did a thing." She had an envelope in her hand, and her whole arm was trembling. "The hearing examiner's report came Thursday. Complaint dismissed. Unsubstantiated, no findings, no discipline. The Ohio Department of Health reinstated my license on the 9th. Sal dropped a sheet pan. It sounded like the end of a war. "You've had this since Thursday." I wanted to say it in daylight. Her chin was going. "I have said every important thing in my life to you between 2 and 5 in the morning, and I wanted one of them in the sun. Nora. St. Brendan's called me. Their imaging department, the same hospital." She was laughing through the tears now. "The interview's Tuesday. Do you understand what that means? He doesn't get to keep that building." I came around the counter and got her face in both hands and kissed her right there in the front of the shop with the blinds up and the whole of West 130th Street able to watch. "Gross," said a 14-year-old from the back bench. "Nobody asked you," I said. Dylan was on the green chair with his elbows on the steel and flour to the wrist, seeding rolls the slow way because Sal wouldn't let him near the lame yet. He's got Shannon's laugh and a gap in his teeth he never grew out of. He comes 2 weekends a month, and the first time he walked through that door, I couldn't get one word out of my mouth for a full minute, so I just held on to him in the doorway while Sal pretended the walk-in needed attention. June came out of the office with a marker. I finished it. She'd been at it for 3 days. A piece of cardboard taped to the inside of the front glass in 7-year-old capitals. "Halloran Baking Co. open. 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. closed at night now, come in." "That's not how you make a sign," Sal said. "It's exactly how you make a sign," I told him. "I hired 2 kids off the second shift at the plant, so the ovens still run overnight, and I do the 4 to noon, and I have not seen a 3 in the morning in 8 months, except once when June had a bad night and Nora and I sat on the floor of the shop with her, and Nora scored a whole tray by hand just to prove she still could. Her hand's still better than mine. She'll tell you that. She'll tell your relatives. People ask me what I learned, and they expect me to say something about spotting the bad ones early. I didn't learn that. I'm no better at it than I was. What I learned is that cruelty almost never announces itself. It shows up in scrubs with a coffee in each hand. It says the reasonable thing in the reasonable voice, and it keeps a record, and it counts on the rest of us being too polite to look twice. But here's the part that cost me more to learn. Decency doesn't announce itself either. It isn't the big rescue. Nobody kicks a door down. It's a chair somebody drags across a floor. It's a name on a pay stub. It's turning around so a hungry woman can eat without an audience. And the hardest thing I ever had to admit is that walking away can wear the exact same coat as doing right. I called it protection for 4 years. It was fear the whole time, and there was a boy on the other end of it checking his phone. If you're carrying a silence like that with a kid, with a parent, with somebody you used to be everything to, I want you to hear this from a man who waited too long. The door you think is closed is usually just a door you stopped knocking on. I still think about how close I came to staying inside that night. 12 below, 400 pounds of rye in the oven, and every reason in the world to mind my own business. It would have been so easy. It's always so easy. And I think about how a child spent a year being taught to write down the wrong things. And the first time the page belonged to her, she wrote down the one small kindness anybody showed her mother. Kids keep a record too, not the kind anyone files, the kind that decides who they turn into. So let me ask you what I've been asking myself since that morning. Whose name are you writing down? And if someone were keeping a page on you, what would be on it? Tell me in the comments. Tell me about the person who turned around so you could eat, or the one you've been meaning to call. I read them. And if you'd like more stories about the quiet kind of courage, the kind that happens at 2 in the morning with nobody watching, stay with me. There's always something in the oven.